She said for every hour she's up, she has to sleep 2 hours. That's really it. No other symptoms, but she's like, you cannot fight it.
6:30, call this regular meeting to order. Closed session. Town council convened in a closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Section 551.071, to discuss matters relating to consultation with town attorney as follows. Consultation with town attorney regarding legal matters related to police operations, and consultation with town attorney regarding legal issues related to town's ordinance 411.06. So just on the,
We gotta get off.
perfect, thank you. Clay, how are you, sir?
Thanks for the cucumbers.
Pardon me?
The cucumber
Oh,
from a few days ago.
they planted out, but I planted some more, so we'll see.
I've seen ours.
He's storing some things that my property says paint or bartering. I eat cucumbers. He gets to put a shelf.
I have eggs in about a month. Anybody want eggs? I have a lot of them.
The neighbors got these coming in.
We are good. Thank you. How are you? We're just starting our budget portion of the meeting. So we'll have a good chunk of discussion before the regular portion. Okay.
No, you were moving there. You were back and forth. I was like, I told Sylvia, no more. He can't stay there no more.
So we're off. Can't turn off the voice. Let's go ahead.
I'm in the wrong business. We're good. One off to A&M, hopefully, and then a junior and seventh year at Liberty Christian. So they're good. Yeah,
Good.
yeah, engineer. He's my mechanical engineer, aerospace. So
Excellent.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. How about you? You good? Healthy? Dodged COVID? Dodged COVID. Yeah, right. That's good.
Gentlemen,
Mike and I are like, we.
ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, time being 7:37, we are reconvened from break.
We're doing work session.
We've already done that.
Work session.
Okay, we're still gonna do the Pledge of Allegiance first. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You can never do the pledge of allegiance out of order.
Amen.
Okay, time being 7:37, we recess regular meeting and call budget work session to order. Item number 1, review and discuss on the proposed fiscal year 2021-2022 budget.
Mayor and council, everyone has a packet of the budget. Looks like this, a printout, has some orange, yellow columns or rows on the front page. So the first page shows you, as part of the budget, there's also that linkage with the property tax rate discussion. So the first page shows you some estimates for the property tax rates. Based on previous council meeting discussions, council had interest in seeing the impact of lowering our property tax rate by 10%. So that's the first column that you're going to see. That would bring it to a property tax rate of 0.173646. So the projected revenues based on 100% collection rates would be $830,000 with $404. However, for budgetary purposes, we do not budget at 100% collection rates. It's more likely that it would be around 98.5% collection rates on property taxes. So the budgeted number would be $817 with $948.
So what was it for this year?
This year, or well, the 21-22 budget has this 817.
Correct. What was it 20 to 21?
That is the $835,600.
Okay.
So when you compare that last section, it shows you that it's essentially a $17,000 decrease. Each column thereafter shows you comparisons of other tax rates. The next one being the no new revenue rate that was provided by the Denton County. The next one is our current tax rate. The last one being the voter approval rate, with each column successively being larger.
So basically with, and this is just property taxes, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So with sales tax and the like, we're still going to have an increase to the town budget, even by reducing it by 10%. And the fact that the property values are going up 10%, again, that's why it stabilizes, so there's no major difference.
Would now be the time when I was discussing this with you the other day about decreasing that tax revenues now as to what that would do should an event take place in the next year, 18 months or whatever that would require undoing that. Can you tell us what that process would be like?
Yes, I can go into it now, and we'll also have a property
I mean,
tax
I know we've
item.
got, I think it's number 12 agenda item, but I don't know whether now
Yes.
would be the time to do that or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Just in summary, we have the no new revenue rate, which is the 0.186149. Due to legislation, anytime that there are decreases in the property tax rate, you almost kind of have to consider it like a locked-in rate, because legislation has made it very hard to increase the property tax rate. The no new revenue rate, if you go above that, you have to have a certain number of public hearings. If you go above the voter approval tax rate, that may trigger an automatic election. So there are a lot of public notice requirements and or election requirements that are in place. So just wanted to notify that if there is a reduction in the property tax rate, it may be difficult in the future to increase it.
I think 3% is the max that you can go. You talking to the mic, please? Thank you.
Yeah. So if we adopt a 10% decrease. We can only go up 3% each year after that.
It would all be based on the appraisal district, what that information is, and at this point, it's hard to say because there's a lot of changes coming in the near future. So I don't have any solid information as to what the appraisals will be. For the no new revenue rate, you are not allowed to generate any new revenue based on existing property conditions. If that property improves, then you can generate new revenue based on the improvement value. So there's just many factors in play.
So I'm just going to be blunt about this. Again, I think there's an attempt to use some scare tactics on what might happen in the future to not lower property taxes. We're in a position, we've talked about doing this for years. We're in a position to be able to do it without literally seeing that there is no impact on the town. The prices of the value of the properties in Bartonville are continuing to go up. They're not going to go down. We've got one of the, quite frankly, premier areas in the Metroplex for people to live. So we're not going to see the property values go down, which that's going to be the big driver. And they can still go up. I mean, just property values going up another 10%. And we've all seen this. Even though they can only take our property values up 10% because of state law, we've all seen that our appraised values are actually above that. So they've got room to continue to march up that scale. All we're doing by lowering it 10% this year is effectively, we're basically stabilizing and saying, look, we're going to give you a break on the municipal property rate for this year. It's not going to go up for this year. And that's really all that we're saying. And, you know, I'll just be honest with you. Again, I get we just need to be careful because as we have more and more cash, you know, we've got to sit there and decide whether that belongs to the citizens or whether it needs to get pulled into a government agency. And again, I've spent 28 years in the military. I watch how the government spends money, and it always concerns me. We're in a position to have no financial impact. Literally, our budget will still be higher and give some relief to the town. And I think that's a heck of a good message to send from my perspective.
10% or no new revenue?
10%. So it's what 10% means is by taking it down 10%, we still get the plus of the increase in property values, which is why what you see here, which is again, it's a $17,000 difference. It's insignificant, and that's easily made up in the revenues from sales taxes, which continue to go up. I mean, heck, we had a better year financially. Take COVID and all the rest of that stuff out there. We had a better year financially last year than we did the prior year, which most municipalities could not say.
The reason me asking that question, bringing that up was, Mr. Mayor, I was not trying to use any scare tactics on anyone here. It was a valid question that I had that I asked, and I thought that maybe everybody else might want to know what could and could not happen, but it's just for educational purposes. I agree with you 100%. Property taxes are not going to go down. The reason I brought this up was because it was a question that I had that I thought maybe the others might want the information as well. That's the reason why. And thank you, Sylvia.
So if there's no other questions, I'll move along on budget information. The budget is presented with the 10% property tax rate in consideration. So the next page shows you the general fund revenues. And that first line item reflects the $817,000 that we previously discussed with the 10% property tax rate reduction. In summary, this budget is almost identical to the one that was presented last month. There were only minor changes made, minor changes to certification pay. We received our insurance rates and our retirement rates from TMRS and TML. So those line items now reflect the information with the new rates. But largely everything else is identical to the previous month that was presented. Again, the budget does include the police chief, police sergeant, and 4 officers. The 3 officers are presented at the $55,000 starting salary range. But again, everything else is identical to last month.
And for the sake of the folks in the audience, one of the discussions we had was making adjustments to the police salary ranges to stay competitive. One of the things that we're seeing right now is that it's very, very difficult to get police officers in this current environment. Council, any questions?
By the end of this week, or earlier, possibly the proposed budget will be posted on our town website. That's per the calendar of events that's required by state law. So it will be accessible on our website this week.
Perfect. And then item number 2 is discussion on financial impact analysis, state of assessment of the town of Bartonville. Did we already cover that, or did you have anything else to add?
No, that's a separate item. So everyone received a packet with a color printout titled Proposal for Current State Assessment.
Okay.
Tammy and I reached out to 2 different firms who are experienced and qualified in doing current state assessments and also long-term planning assessments. So for your consideration, there's 2 proposals that we did receive. We believe that these tools would be helpful in planning or seeing, first of all, seeing what our current assessment is. I think one of the biggest questions that we have in our current, with our current staff levels and resources is that we don't have the ability to truly see what the impact will be at the town being built out according to our land use plan. So I'm not proposing absolutely any changes, but what does Bartonville look like if everything were built out according to the land use zoning? So I think that would be a great tool to use in the future for future discussions if there's council interest in that.
So when I read this, you had talked about 4 firms. Did you talk to 4 firms? Or did you just talk to 2?
I personally talked to 2.
I thought we talked to 4 when we contacted 4 of them. We had 2 that came back and gave us great conversation and submitted proposals.
Got it. Okay. And have you talked to any of these other, again, I mean, you've got 2 proposals. One of them obviously is more flashy than the other, but have you talked to any of the towns or other governmental agencies that these firms have worked with?
Yes, JD Gray has done a lot of work for Argyle. The other Baker Tilly just did some projects for the Lake Worth, and it's the same kind of concept. And this all started with when Josh, I think you asked 2 meetings ago for financial analysis, or kind of like, where are we, a big picture, that kind of thing. So it stemmed from that conversation and from other conversations of different things. We have our review of the comp plan next year. There's just different things. We've never had a big study. These agency or these consultants will come in and they'll talk to you, not like our ID or staff ID. They'll come in and talk to you. They'll talk to you individually. They'll talk to you as a group. They'll talk to, if you want the residents involved. You've talked about doing a survey. Do you want a survey? One thing they'll talk about, they could do a range of anything. If you want it just financially, if you want it to look at the big picture, your land use, it can range from any way that you want it. What your concerns are, what
That's concerns about the current land use plan. Is someone?
it's not your current, it's looking at what you have, what the land use is, and let's say we're built out. If
So
they
if you
look at
build
your
out
land
all
use plan
our-
and built out, and what does that revenue look like for your town? Does that, and where is that, where are you gonna be 10 years from now? What does your strategic plan look like? What does it look? Do you need more police officers? Do you need more staff? Do you need more roads? It gives you a picture of where you are. It gives you a plan. It gives you,
It doesn't change anything.
it doesn't change
It's
anything.
just-
It just gives you a picture of where you are and where you're going. It gives you something to move forward to and look at.
Might make suggestions on changing the land use.
They're
plan.
not going to make any suggestions.
Yeah, and
Nothing.
in the two conversations that I participated in, we both made it very clear that there was absolutely no intention, no interest historically for several years to not make any changes to the land use plan. That historically votes have always been towards maintaining the land use plan as is. And so we let them know that your proposal would be very much rejected if you ever came in trying to change anything. These assessments would be more about trying to, again, not change anything, but with the very strict preferences that Bartonville has, what would Bartonville look like in the future in terms of financing? So built out, what would our property taxes look like? What would our sales taxes look like? What would our property values look like? We also go into other areas such as operations, our revenues versus our expenditures. As we continue to grow out and be built out, we're going to need to spend a little more, but we'll also make more. So just, finding more information for that, our demographics, building permits, employee counts, all of those topics to give an idea of our current assessment and also what our
I'm a big data nerd. I love this kind of stuff. Now, the two concerns. One would be just an outside consulting company that's coming in here that I'm concerned maybe looking at from more of an urban lens than they would from rural, from what we want. And the other, this from a fiscal standpoint, it feels like a lot of money for.
So funding
town our
from
size.
this can come from the Community Development Corporation. It's economic, it's looking at the economic impact. So it wouldn't come from the general fund. I presented this to the Community Development Corporation. They have quite a bit of funding in their account. We're always trying to find legal ways that we can use their funding to assist the town in projects, because they're very limited on what they can do for funding. So in beneficial ways to help the town. So this seemed like a good project to help the town. This JD Gray, they've helped Argyle, they've helped Pilot Point, they've helped Ponder, they've helped smaller towns. These people that are the consultants have been city managers, they have been in the industry. So they know, they've worked with councils, they've worked with boards, they've worked with citizens, they've worked with that. They can help talk to your stakeholders, they can help hold meetings where if you want input, instead of Bridget going out talking to her residents, they can have, like, you do an assessment first, then they can, if you want to do a survey, or if they can help with that instead of, I don't know how to run a survey. Sylvia does. I mean, they can help with those types of things where you get input from your stakeholders. We haven't done something like that in a long time. So it would just be, in our professional opinion, a great tool. Organizations have strategic plans, vision statements, to see where you're going, where you want to be.
If my statement caused this, that my intent was really just to look at a quick Excel, if we lost sales tax by these percentages or something. So if my comment caused you to do this, my apologies. That
That was
wasn't,
a great idea.
wasn't
We
my
didn't think it
intent,
was a
but
negative thing. We
I
just
didn't
thought
look
was a
at
good
it from
idea.
this perspective. So it's interesting. Okay.
I'm just wondering.
It was ours.
But again,
Okay.
so I would sit there and say that there's value to this. When are we covering the land use plan? When is that discussion?
That's next year.
Okay,
And this has nothing to do with the land use plan. Again,
understood, but the land use plan plays into this heavily. And that's going to be an interesting conversation, because I think we're going to have to open it up to a broad view from the citizenry, as well as a discussion within this group as to, what we want to do with the land use plan. Nobody wants to go below 2 acres. I think we've basically all set that as a threshold. But there has been discussion before about what is the economic viability of some of the larger acres in the tracts, and what is it we want to see the town do longer term, and how long we want to see that land vacant because of some of these things in here. That's going to drive a lot of this discussion. Their rates are kind of high. I mean, again, Josh, I agree with you. I think it's worth doing for us to get that picture. What I would question is, and looking to everybody in here to kind of throw in on this, do we do it now, or do we do it after we take a look at the land use plan next year?
you have any personal desire to get input from another company about our town, I just listen to the citizens. So.
Well, again, I think this was more of, you were looking more of a financial projection standpoint as opposed to them making recommendations as to what we do or do not do, correct?
They don't make any recommendations.
That's how we presented it, not in any way to influence any sort of decision making.
They-
It was made very clear that there would likely be no changes in the near future for the land use plan. It's more
They
of a
just collect
tool
data.
of-
So
So they collect data and then it's done, everything's done, then what do we have?
I
What
can
is-
send you like the example of the assessment that they did in Argyle, and I can get some comments from their council members
Yeah, that'd be
and share that
helpful.
with you to see
Yeah.
if they found it helpful to share that with you.
Yeah,
it
I'd like to
just-
see what the product
The
is.
other
Cities
thing
do
is-
this all over the map, and we just feel that it would be a very good tool for you to see. Here's Bartonville. If you had a picture 10 years ago to see what Bartonville looked like today, we've got 3 developments coming in. We have all this commercial coming in, and you still have this development and different things going on. It's hard that we don't have the tools and the resources to look at the bigger picture of where we're at. You get
I still think it, again, waiting until we do the land use plan is going to bring up a bunch of other questions. As we take a look at it and have those conversations that we may want to play into this. If we need projections, quite frankly, we can do some stuff in spreadsheets, high level.
Well, that was my whole thing. Like I was imagining a HEB coming into Argyle and, you know, Kroger went down 20%. What does that impact? Another Marty B's is built, you know, out of in Corral City or something. What would that do to us? And it was just taking these different scenarios and hits and seeing where our puts and takes would have to be from that standpoint. But I mean, I see the value.
They can do that too on a smaller scale. We can't do that. We
Right.
don't have the expertise in doing something like that.
Right.
I'd like to see a problem, like the Argyle rundown. That would help me anyway.
This is pretty involved and a lot of information and time will be spent in this, gathering that information. How many people do that? I mean,
The Baker Tilly one seems a lot more involved, but they could even come out and just talk to you and you could get answers from them rather from us at no cost. You get an example of products, but if not. clearly
Again,
do.
I like the idea of doing it, but I think a lot of it's going to be driven off of what happens in the master plan discussions next year. To your point, Josh, you know, Harvest is going to get a grocery store at some point in time. And will that impact Kroger's? Probably. And there's some other things that are worth looking at. But as we consider that master plan, and there may be no changes. So again, it could be the same as doing right now. But if there are changes, that could significantly have an impact of what's done here. And waiting a year seems like it's not a big deal because this is costly. We've got the one firm, and again, I give Baker Tilly, quite frankly, an A in honesty. But if you look at the last page, an associate is $80 an hour, and a partner principal is $320 an hour. This is going to be expensive. I guess is the point here, and we want to make sure that we get maximum value out of it, and that land use plan is going to drive a lot of these things. Would be my suggestion. And as we all know, I hate spending money until the very last minute.
Yeah, I'm not in any rush to do any.
Yeah, I'm definitely a no for this year. And I don't know if I'd be for it in the future. I guess it just been.
So take a look at it. Let's table this, but take a look at it for next year. See what we think the budget would be on this, so we can actually then include it in the budget and have that.
It's
discussion.
$12,000 to $20,000, just depending on what type of land you'd want to go.
We still get the Argyle one to look at though.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I would love to at least see what the output is.
And you may actually be able to draw some conclusions for us. on
Good.
it.
You could.
To being a cheapskate too, I'm also concerned about our data floating out there and how else it may be used.
And that's fair, because one of the things, again, the Baker Tilly, one of the things I liked about, they were pretty honest about it. They talked about what proprietary information is ours, what is theirs. But we're going to have to, when the contract comes out, be very explicit as to can they put our data into their database.
got a big enough target on our back.
No other questions for the budget?
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. Anything else before we shut down the work session? Okay. Time being 8:02, we adjourn the budget work session. Time being 8:02, we reconvene into the regular meeting session. Have one public announcement. Would everybody join me in happy birthday to the young lady sitting out there in the audience?
Yes, ma'am.
It's Anne Marie's birthday.
Yay.
Happy birthday to you.
Cha, cha, cha.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Anne Marie. Happy birthday to you. Anne Marie, thank you for coming and joining us tonight. Okay, appointed representatives liaison reports. Denton County Emergency Services District number 1.
Dry as it's been, and we do have some infrequent rain, but for the dry as it's been, the counts have been remarkably low. So for the month of July, just lost my vision. Overall, went down 15 from 282 to 267 from June. Lights to Cyrene, it went up 5 seconds, but response to dispatch arrival, it went down quite a bit, close to a full minute. In other words, from leaving the firehouse and getting to the scene of the what's going on. Overall average time at the scene is 18 minutes. Martinville incidents, accident and illnesses, 12, went down from prior month. Motor vehicle with injury, 1, and motor vehicle without injury is 4. Assisted police once, and invalid assist 1 time. You'll see the 321, 322, and 554 comparisons, or give you an idea of what's going on in other communities. If you have any questions about that, just see what some of the volumes are. The largest are, of course, Lantana and Denton, Associated County, and Metro, which is Robeson Ranch. The next part is just really just a blurb of the second page that you have there. The second page is a little more detailed. It goes on some of their daily business in regard to interaction with the community, and also some of the submissions they have had in regard to securing additional funds through grants and things. But with that, it's pretty cut and dry this month.
Terrific. Hey, thank you.
Well, thank you all so much.
So one thing to point out too, the SAFER grant. So we asked Sylvia to take a look at that. She did. It does not cover police officers. It's specifically for fire. But we will continue to try.
Some other ones that you look into. Okay. Thank you all so much for all that you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Chief?
Thank you, Mayor, Council, staff. There's those monthly graphs there in front of you. Look at July 2021 reports. These were paper-generated reports, obviously. In the good month of July, we had 4 fireworks complaints. Didn't write any tickets or seize any fireworks, so that was good. No fires that I recall from. Agency assists were up pretty high, 14. But anything else on that graph there that strikes you as odd or have any questions about?
No, sir. Anything come out of significantly, percentage-wise significantly significant from previous months? Do you think pop by?
Oh, just agency assists were up. I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but
Okay.
let's
Is
see.
that primarily to Lantana?
No, actually, it's kind of spread out all over. So, but there were a few in Lantana. Move on to the officer initiated totals for July. 349 total. Traffic stops for 127. The admin duty totals for July. I got that. I don't know if you see that, Bridget. You see that graph? Admin duty. This one. So that's when obviously the officers are here and you see the cars parked in the parking lot. Any questions about those numbers?
No, but I would like to add one thing. So can you give us so I had asked that we apply for a grant from the Denton County Development District Number 4, which gets the half-cent sales tax out of the, I hate to say this, Lantana Town Center in Bartonville. So we did that. We requested a funding for an additional officer. They did not approve that. They did give us flock cameras and a few other things. Can you kind of run down that real quick?
We asked for 6 flock cameras for that area. In addition to that, we asked for a mobile video surveillance trailer, which has 4 FLIR cameras on it, 360 degrees. It has to be used specifically for that development there, but we can see a lot of it, be able to see a lot of the town with it. 2 radar speed signs.
They agreed to that?
They did.
I was gonna ask. Sorry, go ahead.
So, but they did, it wasn't something that the officer was obviously something legally that they could not fund.
And was trying to solve one of our other discussions.
Do the radar, like the one that we have right here, so we got 2 more,
But they granted us the money to purchase 2 more.
purchase those? Do
So
we
you
know
want to
where we're-
explain how that goes about, how the
Yeah, so we had a grant presentation, we wrote a grant application for it, for all of the equipment, plus the officer. The development district chose to fund, the equipment. They stated that there may be some legal issues with funding an officer, so they decided not to fund that. But essentially, it will have to be, Lantana Town Center is in Bartonville, but it will have to be primarily focused servicing that. So we could maybe think to place them along Jeter on the back.
Take back.
Like where the Lantana Community Church is. And that would, kind of do a dual purpose of,
Has to be in the Lantana.
On 407, can,
It's the-
407, maybe
the Newquest development.
we
So
could
it has to
possibly
be,
do
all the stuff
407.
has to be used in that area.
Yes, it was a tourism grant,
Okay, all right,
It was
But-
positioned as a police tourism
Got it.
initiative.
safety,
got it, okay.
because they currently, we get no crime control tax from them. So that's kind of a way to kind of help us with some of it, because we have a lot of deployed assets there quite often. For
That's going to be our biggest issue. So for instance, flare cameras and whatnot solve that. Plus, we've got the flock cameras. We've got a couple deployed now that we're paying for that, quite frankly, cover that area. So that allows us then to decide, okay, is there some areas that we want to expand use? So it gives us flexibility without an additional cost. And to be honest with you, again, you guys know we've had this conversation multiple times. They're taking our tax revenue. And I've fought with two levels of county commissioners over that issue. So it's nice to get some of it back. I will, though, call out Commissioner Edmondson. So there is now a Bartonville resident on the Denton County community, or something. Number 4. There you go. Thank you. I always get messed up on there.
And just in that conversation, they did add that they're open to other funding
Yes.
mechanisms. If
When
there's,
part of the discussion, when they notified of award, was that they also would like to continue discussions to find more initiatives that would qualify for funding. And 2, to continue the conversation of how we can coordinate for law enforcement services, because they recognize that they do rely on Bartonville's officers a lot. And so they are open to that discussion, as well as to possibly seeing how they can help in the future.
I think I saw a figure of the monetary value of what they're giving us is like 57,000.
That's correct.
But if you look at the bucket of what they're giving, so I would be curious as to maybe going forward about them participating in overall expenses. They can't do an officer, at least with the equipment, so forth, that we would not be just locked into using it there strictly at Lantana. I don't know how it negotiates, but anything we can get back, put back in the market.
And Clay, I mean, again, think it has to be the jurisdictions of the Denton County Development District Number 4 cross over into Bartonville. So the area that we're covering, while it is still in their area, it does support the Bartonville community because again, the Lantana Town Center is in Bartonville. So we are getting some stuff for it. The other thing is anything that prevents us from having to have officers there, like your flare cameras and whatnot, and gives us coverage over there where we don't have to deploy an officer, allows that officer to support the rest of the town. So, 100% agree with you that again, getting back what we're putting into it is terrific, but there is some things that help you out, Chief, correct?
Absolutely. Moving on, I decided to add medical calls. I don't know if you guys would be interested in that, but I threw it in there because that is something else that we do. A lot of times we get there before they do. Their trucks are just a little bit slower than ours, but sometimes we have to get there before they do, and we do some things. So I'll start including some of that. And finally, I included the Group A offenses and Group B offenses. Obviously, these are things that happened that we report annually. If it was it was actually included in the packet. I didn't supply it there. It was in your packet. So we had one identity theft case. We had a drug offense and a public intoxication. Crashes. We had 5 crashes, 4 of which no injury. 1 had injuries. They were Frenchtown and Gibbons, which involved a bicycle and a vehicle. Then there was an address on Dove Creek where they ran off and almost got the fence, but didn't make it. 1 vehicle. They're teenage kids. 3400 FM 407 was right there in front of Kroger. It's 2 vehicles, no injuries. Then we had 1 run off of 407, same area into the parking lot and deploy the airbags. Nobody was hurt. FM 1830 and Lone Star Way, it's two vehicles. And that was the injury accident. Flock reads, we're up there $500,000 again at 557,956, 30-day period. And then National Night Out's coming up October 5th. We're gonna have it, right? So anybody that wants to get involved, feel free to stop by. We'll put you on the list. Other than that, that's all I have.
Chief, that bicycle accident on Gibbons in Fishtown, was that at the stop sign involved in that?
Curb, I believe, where that happened. The curb on Frenchtown and Gibbons right there, the curve. Sorry, not the curb. Curve. Actually had 2 accidents there in that area. Strange. Anything else?
Chief, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Town Administrator?
Mayor and Council, just to give a brief summary of the reports that have been included. First, for the finance report, property tax collections again continue to be higher. So the collections have been evening out. And we're now approximately even with FY 2020 collections, less than 1% variance. And there's still 2 months left in the fiscal year. So it's looking very well. Sales tax collections also performing strongly, approximately 22% higher than budgeted amounts, with also 2 months left in the fiscal year for collections. Permit collections are approximately 20% higher than budgeted amounts. And again, still 2 months left in the fiscal year. For the animal control report, there were slightly higher. There's 16 activities. There was just a lot of activities dealing with traps this month. For the engineer report, there's a number of items that are included, but the main ones that I would highlight would be the Marty B's pre-construction meeting and the permit plan finalization. You may have noticed that the building construction is underway. They've started to do their dirt work and utility work, so that's very much underway. All of the reviews related to the preliminary plats for the subdivisions that are being proposed in the coming months. Also the emergency work order for the sinkhole, along with a continuation of the work order that was previously issued by council. For the building permit report, there were 8 permits and 1 contractor registration for total collections of $6,500. And for the court report, there were 69 citations issued with 53 citations cleared for total collections of $6,500.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Okay, consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of non-controversial or housekeeping items required by law. Items may be approved with a single motion. Items may be removed from the consent agenda by any council member by making such request prior to the motion and vote on consent agenda. Item number 1, consider approval of an interlocal cooperation agreement with Denton County for the assessment and collection of ad valorem taxes for the period beginning October 1st, 2021 and ending September 30th, 2022, subject to automatic renewal for subsequent 1-year terms and authorize the town administrator to execute the same on behalf of the town. Item number 2, consider approval of a resolution implementing the requirement of HB 2073 and section 180.008 local government code establishing a paid quarantine leave policy for town police officers. Item number 3, consider approval of a resolution implementing the requirements of SB 1359 and section 614.015 local government code establishing a mental health leave policy for town police officers. Item number 4, consider approval of an ordinance amending the town of Bartonville Code of Ordinances, chapter 1, general provisions, article 1.04 entitled boards, commissions, committees by amending sections 1.04.031 and 1.04.062 by amending the appointment of members and alternate members of the planning and zoning commission adjustments. Item number 5, consider approval of a resolution repealing resolution 2014-04 regarding board policies and adopting a new policy for appointing boards and commission members. Item number 6, consider approval to authorize the town administrator to hire police officers.
Make a motion to approve the consent items 1 through 6.
All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Regular item, rezoning from ag to RE2 Pittner tract. Public hearing to consider an ordinance amending the town of Bartonville Code of Ordinances, chapter 14, exhibit A, articles 14.02. Abstract number 736 in the town of Bartonville, Denton, Texas, Denton County, Texas, and being a portion of a called 100-acre tract of land described in the deed to Pittner Bartonville property LP from agricultural district to residential estates number 2. The tract of land is located to the southwest side of FM 407 adjacent to Lindsay Lane in Bartonville, Texas. Staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. So in summary, this is the same property that was presented a few months ago where there was a proposal for land use changes and rural business. The applicant and the property owner have since then come back and revised the request. And now it is for the entire property, the request is to rezone to RE2. There is no rural business component to this project. So the tract is 87.123 acres. Again, the rezoning is from agriculture to RE2, and it is to support the next item on the agenda related to the preliminary plat that we will discuss in a little bit. This zone change is in line with our town's future land use plan, and P&Z voted 5-0 to recommend approval. There were no public comments submitted or presented at the P&Z meeting.
Great, thank you. Applicant? Please say your name and address.
Name is Omar Oais, address is 5225 Las Colinas Boulevard, Irving, Texas. Just wanted, everything Sylvia said was right on. I would like to make it clear though, when the applicant did come asking for rural business, I was not a part of that request. I was looking at the rest of the residential portion. After that request was denied, they've agreed to sell the remaining portions of the property to us. And we happily agreed to that and added a couple more lots in the development. And really just want to make it clear that we've tried extremely hard to meet every part of the ordinance that we can. We're not requesting any variances. Everything is per ordinance. It's per the land use plan. It's all 2-acre lots. And it's going to be similar to the one that we got approved 1 mile south, kind of right where the Marty B's is. And it's going to be high-end homes, all in the $1.5 million range plus. And it's going to be an extremely high-end community. We tried really, really hard to make sure that it works for the environment that's around us. For the Saddlebrook Estates property to the south, we made sure there's lots butting up to that property. We wanted to make sure there wasn't a road there, just from a traffic standpoint. We also made sure that the point of entry was off of 407 all the way to the southern portion of the property. And that was a comment that we got in DRC to try to keep it as far away from the turn as possible for safety reasons. So we happily did that as well. And from a design standpoint, from a creative standpoint, we'll be putting up nice monument entry, screening walls surrounding the property, but it's not going to be, I hate to say, similar to the Lantana where it's one big screening wall. It's going to be more on and off kind of screening walls and a lot more landscaping involved to keep the rural kind of country feel to it. So happy to answer any questions. So
I had one. I thought,
Please.
and thank you. I thought when we looked at this before that you were not going to tie into that road going into Saddlebrook.
No, you mean on the southwest corner?
Yes.
Yeah, we have to have a second point of access to the property, but that's not going to be the main point of access. The main entry is going to be off 407. That connection point on the southwest corner is primarily going to be there for emergency.
Did I misremember that, or was that, did we say,
I don't think you
or was that initially not going to be?
No, that was, I think what you were probably referring to is when the other applicant came and was talking about the rural business. That was not.
Very well, maybe.
Yeah.
And my reason for asking, my thought for asking is just to make sure that the people that live there are aware that they've been noticed. And
Yes, they received notices for the rezoning. Anyone who lives within, I believe, 200 feet of the property was sent a letter with this information about
road tie-in and everything.
not the road tie-in, strictly to the rezoning.
And just to kind of comment on that, when you have a kind of the main point of access off of the main road 407, generally people are going to take that road to go straight into the development versus having to drive all the way through Saddlebrook to go all the way into the home, because that just it's much further away.
Sure.
Really, the only reason we have that there is just for fire. That's a requirement that we had to meet, but we made the entryway off of 407 a much larger entryway. It's a double. It's a much larger road with a separated entry and a monument sign and everything. It's pretty clear that that's kind of the main entry.
So there will be no light there. They'll just be able to go right.
They'll be able to go right.
Okay.
Right.
Like Saddlebrook's further to the south.
It's further to the south. Yeah.
There's
Absolutely.
no double fronted lots there.
No. So, when we originally there was several other concepts that we developed that we went back and forth with city staff on, and we met with folks in DRC. We originally had a total of 42 lots, and that felt a little bit crammed. And, from a double frontage lot standpoint, in a lot of other cities, you put, 5-foot HOA strips and it kind of gets rid of that requirement. However, that's not something we want to do. We don't want to circumvent the rules. We don't want to go around. And so what we did is we eliminated some of the lots. We put a park there to have nice big green space there. Again, I know we're obviously we're a business and we have to make it work, but at the same time, we weren't trying to squeeze as many lots as we possibly could, because we could have gotten 4 more lots out of this. And we decided not to go that route. We wanted to make sure that everybody here was happy with what we were doing.
The road that runs to the west of this property, how far down does it come? Does it run the entire length? No, so there is a road that comes off of 407 to get to the Exxon, to get to, how?
Stops somewhere around easily. There's a big pond.
Okay, so is there any way to tie in there as opposed to tying this out?
It's a private road. That's not a public right of way.
Just to clarify, so this specific item is just in relation to the rezoning request. I do have a separate staff report strictly for the preliminary plat. I'm glad to give that to you now if you'd like to continue the discussions, but the item will.
I could wait. But you know what's gonna come up. Okay, great, thank you. So, open, time being, 8:27, we open public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to speak in favor? Anyone online? Thank you, ma'am. Anyone who would like to speak opposed? Okay, thank you. Anybody online? Okay, time being 8:27, we close this public hearing. Council deliberation.
To all my questions, I mean,
It's on the master plan.
it's on
as-
this plan,
as RE2 today.
5-0.
We have a motion.
Motion that we approve the rezoning from Ag to RE2 for the Pittner tract as written in regular item number 7.
Second.
All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Item number 8, discuss and consider approval of a preliminary plat for the proposed Eagle Ridge subdivision containing approximately 87.123 acres. Proposed development will create 38 individual single-family lots. The property is generally located in the southwest side of 407, adjacent to Lindsay Lane in Bartonville, Texas. Staff report?
Thank you, Mayor. So everyone has a printout of the preliminary plat with their agenda packets. Again, this is a preliminary plat for the property that we've been discussing, 87.123 acres. That is on the southwest side of FM 407, directly across from Tractor Supply. The name of the subdivision is Eagle Ridge. However, throughout the revisions, throughout the review process, there were other names. So in the agenda packet, you might see other names such as Hudson Ranch North, or Bartonville North. So just wanted to clarify that the final name is Eagle Ridge for the subdivision. The preceding item on the agenda involved the request to change the zoning to RE2. So now the zoning is in line for this preliminary plat. It is for 38 single-family residential lots, and all of them are at least 2 acres. There are several HOA lots proposed throughout the subdivision, with one of them being a 1-acre lot to serve as a proposed park. You can find the 1-acre lot to the west of Jefferson Court, which is the 3rd cul-de-sac street. For roads, the plat proposes a northbound extension of Kentucky Derby Drive that goes east to connect to FM 407 and also creates 3 additional cul-de-sac streets. For utilities, the applicant has provided a service availability letter from CoServe confirming that gas and electric utilities are available at the subdivision location. The applicant has also had discussions with Cross Timbers Water Supply Corporation, but official utility company reviews were requested to be waived until the final plat is submitted. For council consideration, there are a number of staff comments related to possible double frontage lots and setbacks for your consideration. The HOA 1-acre park and 5-foot HOA lot are proposed to remediate double frontage lots throughout the subdivision. So if you'll see the 1-acre lot that was to the west of Jefferson Court, that was placed there to help remediate the double frontage lots for lot number 19 and lot number 20. Kind of towards the center of the preliminary plat. There is also a 5-foot HOA lot that is placed along Lone Star Way, so on the northwest corner of the property, to help remediate double frontage lots for lots number 5, 6, 16, and 17. There are also deep and variable front yard setbacks that are proposed throughout several of the lots in the cul-de-sac areas. For example, you can see lot number 25 has, it's a little unclear to read at the time, but I believe it's a 200-foot front yard setback. P&Z voted 5-0 to recommend approval of the preliminary plat with the added recommended condition that the preliminary plat be revised to incorporate a landscape easement that encompasses the screening wall on the north, east, and half of the west boundaries. The screening wall will be inside the landscape easement. This recommended condition was provided after discussions with our town engineer and planner. The landscape easement was recommended as it puts the maintenance responsibility on the HOA and ensures that the individual property owners cannot change or remove any of the screening wall. The town did not receive any comments from the public regarding this item. And the favorable recommendation of P and Z and approval of the preliminary plat by council serves as approval of the street and lot layout and allows the applicant to start preparation of the final plat and any engineering and construction plans for the public improvements.
Thank you. Applicant? Name and address again, please, sir.
Omar Weiss, 5225 Las Colinas Boulevard, Irving, Texas, 75039. Just a few points to clarify kind of what Sylvia was talking about. Regarding the lots that are on the north side that are on the old 407, that road technically was old 407 and now I believe it's called Lone Star Way. It was really hard not to put lots on that road. Having all the lots facing 407, those were all really allowed. So we kind of had to finish that theme up on the north side. So that we're going to have a screening wall that wraps around the entire property we actually have a much larger easement. I think in the updated version that we sent to Sylvia, there's almost a 35-foot landscape easement on the east side, and then it gets smaller on the north and the west. And we're going to be planting a lot of landscaping all along 407. Also on the north side as well. And the screening wall is really going to help separate the road from the residential neighborhood. So we really tried really hard to make sure that we were able to kind of have that separation between the residential neighborhood and everything surrounding. The 1 acre park, originally the plan was actually having lots instead of two. We had a 10 or 5 foot or 10 foot HOA strip in the back to remediate the double frontage. We decided that wasn't enough. So we eliminated one lot there. We made it a 1 acre park. We're going to plant that up and put, some benches there and some trees and some landscaping. And it's kind of a nice spot for folks to hang out in. Also from a maintenance standpoint, obviously, other than whatever the public right of way is, everything else is going to be maintained by the HOA. The screening walls, the landscaping surrounding, any ponds in the area, all that will be maintained by the HOA, and nothing will be the city's responsibility to maintain.
So I'm looking at 407. Is that just vegetation, or will there be a physical wall there as well?
There will be a physical wall there. Not sure what the design exactly is going to look like for the wall, but I can promise you it's not going to be one big 8-foot wall cutting all the way across the whole thing. It's going to be some variation of wrought iron fence with walls and landscaping, a combination to where you get as you're driving down, it doesn't look like one big suburban neighborhood. It's going to look more country.
Okay, so it's going to be some type of see-through fencing
It'll be some type of see-through fencing with a combination of brick or rock or whatever kind of
for the
we want to go.
posts.
Yeah, for the post, and sometimes you have it on the kind of bottom, the first like 2 or 3 feet, and then you have a fence on top of it.
Okay.
It's kind of more of a design question that we're working through right now, but we're committed to keeping the country feel. That's what we want to do.
Same thing on the north, that country wall where you have the wrought iron fence with a lot of vegetation.
Yeah, you mean on the north side of it? Yeah, it'll be very similar to that. And on the north side, it's kind of far away from 407, and it's kind of on a dead end street. So there'll likely be more landscaping and vegetation there just to kind of block the view from there. But yeah, our main concern was to make sure everything off of 407 looks nice as you're driving down and towards the monument entry. We've included some pictures. This is a neighborhood that I live right across the street from that I was walking last month. I was just trying to get some inspiration for what kind of some of the fencing might look like. Just like we told P&Z, I'm very open to having anybody from council or P&Z come talk to me as we're going through the design process to tell me what your thoughts are and what you'd like to see. This is, I think, a collaborative effort. I want to make sure we maintain kind of what the city wants, what the residents want, and we'll be happy to incorporate that as part of the design. I'm more than happy to welcome any comments for that.
And then on the vegetation, are you gonna run sprinklers to them?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There'll be everything within the landscape easement that the HOA is going to maintain. There'll be separate meters for them, all sorts of irrigation going there, and obviously part of the HOA's responsibility is to have a landscape company make sure they're keeping up and maintaining it.
So the roads, once they complete the roads become our responsibility.
I will say, I am personally going to be involved in both of these projects. It's a total of 71 lots, close to $100 million worth of finished value once all the homes are built. I'm personally going to be involved in not only the development side, but also be involved on the home building side. So I'll be the main point of contact for everything related to both of these projects from beginning to end. So you can come and blame me directly if there's any problems or anything that come up along the way.
But we will.
I'll give you my personal number. You can give me a call whenever.
Amy, can you run that back to where the map is of the lots? Need to ask him a question on lots 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Is that really?
I'll need to see which lots there are. I'm sorry.
So 9, 10.
Yeah, 12, 11, 12. 13, five lots.
Yes, yes,
There's an existing pond there. A part of it's actually wetlands as well. We don't plan on doing anything with that pond. We'll probably dress it up, make it look a little bit nicer. Yeah, they'll all have the ponds. Yep, they'll have the pond. It's pretty common. We're actually doing it on the southern property as well. That's not a pond, no.
that's a tree.
That's
It's a big
a
tree.
lot of, not one tree, it's a bunch of trees, I believe. Yeah, we did a tree survey. That's the other thing I wanted to note. We have tried extremely hard to save as many trees as we possibly can. And if we are removing any trees, I guarantee you we're going to be putting way more than we've removed. We actually shaped this development to avoid cutting down as many trees as we possibly can.
So those 5 lots then are all going to be participating, that pond will be on their property.
A pond will be on their property. Yes.
A great place for kids to go fishing.
Yeah, exactly. You walk right straight to the backyard and
Say, hey,
go ahead. Yep.
send Johnny outside.
I'd welcome any questions, even if it's not related to the ordinance. If there's any kind of personal questions that you guys have for me in terms of design, how you think things would look based off of, the town of Bartonville. I know you speak for the town, so I'm open to kind of any design recommendations, creative recommendations. But what we're looking for today is just to get the preliminary plat approved to be able for us to go into design. And then once we come back with a final plat, between now and then, we can have conversations on creative discussions.
I commend you with the way you came up with the streets in there, because when we met with the DRC, you were having some difficulties trying to figure out how you're gonna make this work.
Good, and I'll give the city staff kudos as well. They've been great. The city engineer and the city planner and Sylvia, they were very patient with us and give us a lot of great comments. So hopefully this is something that will make not only us proud, but it can make you guys proud and the town proud.
Thank you.
So a couple of things, and again, Sylvia, just remind me, the Cross Timbers Water Supply will get to approve the size of the water lines for the final plat.
They will have discretion over
Perfect.
that.
Just a note on that, we've already gotten approval from them. I know it's technically not in the part of this packet, but between the time we've submitted this and today, they've already reviewed the plans. They've already provided us with comments. They've already approved everything related to water to the site.
Jim, we've got a couple of areas that we actually negotiated with them to put in larger lines, like Stonewood and a couple of areas. So it's one of those things that is always a hot button. So question, and I'm looking at, and again, this is a curiosity, but lots 24 and 25 are the closest to 407. So they're up there right on the, keep going. Yeah, perfect. Any concerns about the noise of the road and those residents?
Absolutely. That was one of just the general property. It was pretty challenging, right? Most of it is along 407. So noise is a big thing. In Saddlebrook, right off of 407, there's 3 or 4 lots there that are still to this day empty, right? And it's mostly because of how they utilize screening walls and landscaping. We plan to be very creative in terms of reducing both noise and visuals into the property, while keeping that country feel. So yeah, obviously noise is going to be a big thing. There's some of those lots are probably some of the more undesirable lots, but we did the best that we can with the layout that we've got.
Understood. And again, the vegetation, we appreciate the vegetation there not being one big solid wall. Yeah. From an aesthetics perspective, but again, just be interested to hear how you're going to solve that sound abasement without putting in very expensive windows in the
Yeah,
house.
so these homes are 1.5 million at the cheapest, right? These are gonna go up to $4, $5, $6 million homes. They use some Anderson series windows that are more noise canceling in nature. And then with the combination of the walls, when I was talking about alternating walls, some of those walls are gonna be on the ones that are closer, right, to the street versus some of the rest are gonna be further away. So we'll put big hedges, walls, combination of things. It's not gonna be a perfect solution, but it's gonna be a good enough solution from a sound standpoint, that is.
Council, any additional questions? Do you have a motion?
Make a motion that we accept the preliminary plat.
Second? Okay, all in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Item number 9, discuss and consider approval of a professional services agreement with America's Code Enforcement for code enforcement services beginning August 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2022, and authorize the town administrator to execute same on behalf of the town.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a continuation of discussion from last month's agenda item to consider approval for the code enforcement contract. Just to give a brief summary again of the agreement, the code enforcement services will assist in enforcement of the town's ordinances. Largely, it will be ordinances related to junk or junk vehicles, outside storage, trash, vegetation, things of that nature. The term of the agreement is September 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2022. And there is a 12-month extension that's optional if you choose to extend it. The price is structured at $700 per month for 5 hours a week of code enforcement services, which is approximately $35 an hour. America's Code Enforcement is owned by the same individual as All American Dogs. There's no budget amendment that is going to be needed for this current fiscal year, and the proposed budget for 21-22 does include this as a line item, so there would not need to be a modification to the budget that you saw today. So we did have a meeting with 2 council representatives, Councilmember Roberts and Councilmember Phillips, along with Kirk, who I believe is on the Zoom call. Kirk is one of the code enforcement officers who works with all America's Code Enforcement. And so we discussed generally the processes, some of the concerns. I don't want to speak for the meeting, but I think the sentiment was that the town does want to approach a very friendly, very communicative approach where it's not a hard enforcement by any means, but just a method to make it easier to communicate with residents.
Jim Joff?
Yeah, so I guess a couple comments. One, I didn't realize that we were already doing a bunch of this. When I say we, not me. Sylvia, we're already doing this and sending letters and finding themselves in the middle of a lot of things. They have other things they probably need to spend their time doing. I really liked their approach of working with us and allowing us to kind of dictate a little bit of how it's done, things like that. You know, we can't and we won't cherry pick what we look for, but you know, it's going to be a really good, open, communicative process. And then there's certain rules and regulations that they'll follow that they're all trained and certified on. And so I got a really good feeling that, you know, they're here to help town staff and take one burden off of their plates while helping us get our arms around some areas that may be a challenge. I don't know how you felt.
Totally agree. That was a good summary. And Kirk, thank you for being here and talking to us. We asked a lot of questions. I thought he gave us great answers. One of the things that we had asked for was to get some sample pictures of what he would look, you know, what he would see, what the violations, because we were trying to figure out collectively that are we talking about, you know, if you go out talking about 10 or 20, or are you talking about 200? So we really saw it's only things that you can see from public streets. But he sent pictures over, and I think there were all things that you would identify. We had talked about focusing on the low-hanging fruit first, and you know, we weren't trying to come in and be egregious to anybody, but just to start making things better and start working through it. And I thought that they even had, Kirk even had some good ideas. I think he'd mentioned in one of the places where they worked that before they did it, they included it in a water bill and said, "Hey, this is coming." So they notified. They said that we can pick how many warnings we give people up front. And there's we're regulating on the time between a warning and a certified letter and a fine. But you're not regulating on how many warnings you want to give. So if we wanted to start off with a couple of warnings, 2 or 3, that would be something we could discuss and they could accommodate it.
And one other comment, just real quick. Kirk's idea and his desire is to get the resident in question to call him and have a conversation. He wants to talk. They want to talk to him and say, hey, this is what I saw. This is how we can fix it. Wants to be very diplomatic and friendly about it and not just, hey, you got your warning letter, now go fix it. It wasn't that approach at all. And that's not the feeling that he gave us. So I know there's some concern about, how are folks going to take this? And I get that it's something different. Change isn't always easy, but hearing town staff talk about some examples of where they had to get in the middle of neighborly arguments, is not really where they probably should spend some time on some of this stuff. So
Phone calls go into them, not to staff. Too.
Right. That's right.
That helps.
So, yeah, the thing I like about it, we've got issues where, drainage. People have not kept the drainage pipes under their driveways cleared out. And I hate to say it, I've always been a big proponent in the 9 years I've got of saying, hey, go talk to your neighbor because this is Bartonville. Unfortunately, we found out the reality of that is, the neighbors don't consider it a friendly discussion. They consider you impeding upon their rights, regardless of if they're egregious on your rights with water flow or whatnot. And so bringing in a third party helps. The other thing that we've done a poor job on in the past is, quite frankly, things get built that should not have been approved because, we just don't catch it early enough. This will allow us to catch some of those things. So there's a lot of advantages to it. And then once it sets a standard, it resolves it. We've got certain areas within town that there continues to be problems with, unfortunately, junk collections forming and starting if we can catch them earlier. Because sometimes, quite frankly, we catch it, we try to enforce it. They don't have the financial wherewithal to be able to deal with it. And the next thing you know, we've got now a financial problem we need to deal with.
Hey, Josh or Jim, when you spoke to them, to Kurt, the fees were $700 a month and then $40 an hour, and then it's additional hours as may be needed. If this is set on 5 hours a week, did they give you indication as to how they're going to monitor those 5 hours? And is it done by hour and a half a day, 2 hours, and then what would be the additional hours that would be needed? Is this following through with citations and walking up to the door, knocking on the door, or contacting them, or how was that? Did he discuss that?
Yeah, he did. Kirk, I don't know if you want to. I think you're on, Kirk.
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Did you hear the question from Councilman Sams?
Yes, sir, I did. Good evening, everybody. So when you're talking about those extra hours, what we're talking about is once we've gone through the process of a patrol, we've issued the warnings, we've issued another warning, we've issued a certified letter, and we've got to a citation. And then that citation goes to municipal court. That's the time frame we're looking at when there might possibly be that extra charge. We've already completed the 5 hours that we've contracted for the city to do for that week. And then we've got to send somebody out to municipal court at 8 o'clock at night to handle a citation before the judge. That would be a situation where we would have to sit down with the city and go, okay, this is going to be that extra charge.
Thank you.
And Clay, on your question about the coverage, I'll get Kurt to confirm, but I believe you said that you would come through here, you would pick a day when you came through and made your rounds?
So we're already in the city at least once, if not twice a week, doing an actual animal control patrol. Those days, there might be some overlap, but usually when we do code enforcement, I like for myself or my guys to do one patrol one day. I like, I don't want them to try to break it up over several days. like you could an animal control patrol, because you never know when you're going to run across a stray dog. The code issues are always going to be there. And so I want them to focus on handling that code patrol and not get distracted. And obviously, if they see a stray dog run across the road, they're going to pick it up. But I want them to focus on that particular patrol in that city, go by City Hall, check in, see if City Hall has anything that they want us to go look at. Go through, come back by City Hall on the way out of town. Hey, these are some of the things I found. This person, I wrote a warning about this. You may get a phone call. Please direct them to us. There's got to be a lot of communication between us and the people at City Hall. Did I just go silent?
Oh, no, everybody's nodding. Thank you, Kirk. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Discussion? We have a motion.
Make a motion that we approve the contract with the professional service agreement with American Code Enforcement, beginning, we've got it August or September 1st, 2021.
September 1st.
All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Item number 10, consider approval of the Bartonville Community Development Corporation's proposed budget for the fiscal year beginning on October 1st, 2021 and ending on September 30th, 2022. Tammy?
All right. So the annual budget includes increased line items. From the discussion earlier, they had increased the consulting fees to cover an assessment or strategic plan. Had the council been in favor of that, if the council's, we could leave it in there. If the council still favors that later in the fiscal year, that doesn't mean they'll spend it, but it'll be there if the council chooses to move forward with something like that. And also an increase in the software line item. There's a sales tax software. The company is called Zack Tax, and it helps track our sales tax and our confidential sales tax. It assists with the confidential sales tax that we track in the mayor's favorite area, the Denton County Development District. The comptroller, so actually when we annexed the property, the Denton County Development District already had a sales tax there. When we annexed it, then it put our sales tax over the state cap. So then the comptroller created a special district. But when we do the tax grants, we have to request this confidential report. I have to do calculations every month for these calculations. It's kind of brutal, but we manage it. The software will also take, and we can look at areas all throughout the town. It'll help us with monthly financial reports. It'll tell us what type of industries are reporting, not only for the businesses in town, but the types of businesses our residents are buying from. So you're going to need your online sales tax. So for where all of our types of industries it's coming from. It can also look at, are we getting all the sales tax that we're supposed to be getting? And are there businesses in our town that we're not getting our sales tax from that we're supposed to be getting our sales tax from? So it's for the first year, we'll see how well we benefit from it. We can cancel the contract anytime, but they agreed to fund that for us. It's $3,000 a year. They base it on your population. So that's for cities under 25,000. So hopefully if it performs and helps us with that monthly reporting, it'll save a lot of staff time. And if it saves us finds us areas that we're not collecting sales tax in, it'll bring us some more revenue that we're not collecting as well. The grant expenses, we don't know who may come in and request a grant. So that could be for new businesses coming in. that come in and request a grant, and then there would be a project that they would fund that would come before the council before that would get funded. So it's hard to budget that, not knowing who's gonna come in and request a project. Yeah, we just left that in there, not knowing, and if something comes in bigger that the council may want to fund or that board, then we would amend, they would amend the budget.
Council, any discussions? We have a motion?
TDC. 120.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Item number 11, discuss and consider scheduling September 7th, 2021 for a public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2021-2022 budget and scheduling September 21st, 2021 for the adoption of said budget. Tammy?
This item is to be in compliance with section 102.005 and 6. This is just for you, Clay, of the local government code. You have to have the public hearing of the budget before you have the adoption of the tax rate. You can't have those at the same meeting. So it's just crazy how they make all these rules. So the public hearing for the budget is set for September 7th. The adoption for the budget and the adoption for the tax rate are scheduled for September 21st. So this item is to schedule the public hearing for September 7th and to schedule September 21st for the adoption of the said budget.
Know what time that would be at?
September 7th.
Mhm.
That you don't have to have that into the motion. We just need to set the date. Actually, fix the time and the place. Nope, we need the time in there as well.
So September 7th is
Tuesday.
Tuesday, September 7th.
Labor Day.
Yep, Tuesday, September 7th.
perfect.
You have a time?
Motion that we.
Does anybody have an issue with the 7th or the 21st? Just
The 21st is our regular normal meeting date.
understand, just again, just want to make sure that there is. So I'm not seeing a problem with my schedule. Everybody else okay?
Yep.
Have something going on?
That's a Tuesday, the 7th, is it not?
Yes.
Okay, that's after Labor Day.
Yes.
No, I'll be here.
6:30.
But again, we don't need to do, we'll set the time at 6.
No, we need to set time.
What's that?
We need to set the time.
Okay, 6:30 it is.
30.
That'll be published in the newspaper. So you'll need to make a motion to schedule September 7th, 2021 at 6:30 PM for the public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2021 budget and schedule September 21st, 2021, 7 PM for the adoption of said budget.
Second. Did you just make a motion?
I just said the language for you. I can't make the
very good,
motion, but you can move what I just said.
What she said, just say that.
You say so moved.
You so moved.
Make a motion to schedule the budget meeting September 7th, 2021 at 6:30 for a public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2021 to 2022 budget, scheduling September 21st, 2021 for adoption of said budget at 6:30.
Perfect.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Very cool. Okay, item number 12,
Oh,
discuss
Mayor's
and
got it.
consider accepting the submission of a no new revenue and voters approval tax rate calculations. Take action to consider a proposed tax rate and schedule September 21st, 2021 for a public meeting to consider the proposed tax rate. Staff?
So this item is to vote on the preliminary maximum tax rate for the 2021 year. So during the item to adopt the final tax rate that will be later in September, council can approve a lower rate than what is proposed today, but not a higher rate. Based on the certified rolls provided by Denton County Central Appraisal District, the following rates are also presented. The no new revenue rate of 0.186149, and the voter approval rate of 0.215679. And both of those property tax rates were also discussed during the budget portion of the work session. The no new revenue rate is the tax rate to generate the same amount of property tax revenue as the preceding year, given fluctuations in appraisal. And the voter approval rate is the rate that provides up to a 3.5% increase in the maintenance and operation rate portion of the property tax rate, which is provided by law to keep up with cost drivers. This is the tax rate that used to be 8%, but was lowered to 3.5%. The voter approval rate is also the maximum rate allowed that is without an election.
So we're just setting what we won't go higher than in
Correct. So,
this.
so what we would do is set the rate. So for instance, we've got the rate right now for taking the 10% hit, which will still keep, again, our tax revenue from ad valorem tax basically equivalent to what it is. That would be this document.
So that's the,
So that's the wrong
that's
one.
police
Yeah.
salary.
The other
It's
one
the-
with the
it's the
yellow
other-
on
it's
it.
the other color, yes.
It's on the front page of the budget document, 0.17.
Oh, okay. So that one's not listed on here.
No, that was
Okay.
just a separate calculation that was proposed.
Concerns?
Tax rate of 0.173646 per hundred, valuation for the fiscal year beginning October and ending September 30, 2022, I think, right? Yeah, 2022 schedule. Scheduling September 21 of 2020, September 21 of 2021, public meeting on the tax rate, the adoption of the said.
All in favor?
I need to take a roll call vote, Mayor.
Oh, yeah, my apologies, yes.
And who did the second? I'm sorry. Councilmember Melson? Councilmember Sams?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Garrington? Councilmember Roberts?
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips?
Yes.
All in favor, 0 against. Motion passes.
Item number 13, discuss and consider boards and commissions applications and consider approval of resolutions appointing members to the Board of Adjustments, Planning and Zoning Commission, Bartonville Community Development Corporation, and the Crime Control District.
Mayor, I did send, the list is, I have a paper copy of the list if you need a copy of it. I also sent you the applications of the new members. If you have discussions and are ready to make appointments this evening, following your discussions, I'll list out your assistance for your motions because there are terms that expire. There's unexpired terms. So for your appointments, when you're ready to get those motions, I'll hand somebody the paper to make the motions for those boards.
I have some recommendations here. on that.
And then I,
Discuss this?
yeah, oh, absolutely. I just, before you make those recommendations, I just wanted to make one comment. When you had a vacancy in planning and zoning, if you so choose, you can move your alternate 2 person to the place 1. So if you do that, that's another special motion that I'll need to write for you. So, but you can, yeah, for P and Z, your alternate 1 position is vacant. And so the alternate 2 reapplied if you want to move alternate 2 to alternate 1, because alternate 1 would be the first person that would vote in the absence. So if you wanted to move alternate 2 to alternate 1, you can do that. And then, but so when you're all done with your discussions, I'll write your motions for you before you make your motions. There you go.
Margie to alternate 1. Move her up. And then I think we should put Larry Hayes, everybody's okay with that, on the other alternate. Dunlap for crime control. So I think he has some experience there, and then Latham and Buford to community development.
What does, what's Dunlap's crime control? Because I was actually looking at potentially Vicky Burford.
Application. He's a retired U.S. Navy aviator, weapons systems engineer, software engineer, engineering consultant, is a military command CO. I have authority to convene, hold, and execute judicial proceedings for summary and special courts martial during a 12-year period of service senior shore patrol officer on temporary assignments.
So just, again, the senior military officer in the group, none of that's law enforcement.
I'm sorry,
I'm
yeah.
not saying taking him off, but,
No, I'm not saying, I mean.
yeah, again, he was in command is what he was, and he had non-judicial punishment capability.
Yes.
In that position. So again, I'm not saying remove him or not, but that's just as an FYI, that's not law enforcement.
That was his first choice.
How long has he been in town?
Since 9 years.
Again, I'm not, the only reason I'm advocating for Vicky Burford, she's been here for 20+ years, and I know her very well. No military and no law enforcement experience, just a solid citizen.
Dunlap for which one? Did you say, Jackie?
I'm controlling.
I'm not willing to die on this hill if you prefer Don. I'm not gonna argue about that. I do. Vicky, yeah, Vicky's my neighbor, and again, she's a good person. But you know, even though my daughter's a Marine aviator, I don't hate naval aviators.
See, of all the applicants, he was the only one that asked for planning, for the community development, the crime control. Yeah, I'm looking at number one.
So again, I'm good. I'm good with Jacqueline's proposals if we want to go with them.
Jackie's.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Catch that, Tim?
And I think I'm almost there.
Restate it just.
Sure, Margie, move Margie up to alternate 1, and then Larry Page, alternate 2 for P and Z. Donald Dunlap for crime control. And then Burford and Latham on community development.
I think she would, and I think that's a great idea.
Don't you want?
Latham and
Second person?
I'm in.
There's an opening on crime control?
There is the one that's in. It is.
Yeah.
So they color
He
coded
didn't
it.
reapply. Okay, all right, I got it.
Alternate two. And militant nothing, and then you're doing reappointments on the others?
Are you okay?
So Noah.
I've only got concerns about that Randy Van Alsten guy.
Yeah, me too.
If I read this, then somebody can say, I so move. If you're in agreement with this. Move to approve a resolution appointing members to the Board of Adjustment as follows. Helen Stewart, Dale Noller, Jim Lieber, for a 2-year term effective October 1st, 2021. And Keith Randall, alternate 2 position effective October 1st, 2021.
I so move.
Second.
Way to be paying attention, Josh.
Okay, do we need a formal vote?
That was it. Now you just need to vote.
Okay, all in favor? All opposed?
It's me helping you.
If you're fine.
Planning-
Discussion on liaison.
Gotta go
Mayor.
through the rest of them. Planning and zoning.
Oh, God, okay.
Planning and Zoning Commission, move to approve a resolution appointing members to the Planning and Zoning Commission as follows. Don Abernathy and Harry Otto for a 2-year term effective October 1st, 2021. Move Margie Aaron's from the alternate 2 position to the alternate 1 position with a term ending September 30th, 2023. Appointing Larry Hayes to the alternate member 2 position for a 2-year term effective October 1, 2021.
Great. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, council.
Community Development Corporation, move to approve a resolution appointing members to the Bartonville Community Development Corporation. Dwayne Scarsabeck, Jim Langford, Randy Van Alstine. To a 2-year term effective October 1, 2021. Brenda Latham and Vicky Burford to the unexpired terms ending September 30th, 2022.
So moved.
All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, council.
Crime Control District. This date is different because of state law, not by my choice. Move to approve a resolution appointing members to the Crime Control and Prevention District as follows. 3 people, Chris Colbert, Jeff Grubb, and Donald Dunlap to a 3-year term effective September 1, 2021.
I so move.
All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Item number 14, discussing liaison between council, engineering, and staff for general street issues. Sylvia, do you mind if I jump in here? So we had Jeff doing a lot of this for us, basically working with him. He ended up proposing the three underserved maps that we had looked at. Kind of have talked about that. I've spoken to Randy on a couple of occasions because he's in construction. Just wanted to have somebody other than somebody representing the town with the town engineer that's got expertise in this area to come in and give us some kind of additional advice and guidance and work with the town engineer. Randy's volunteered to do that. He's got the expertise to do it. I will tell you, again, I am not in any way, shape, or form a road expert, although much better than what I was a few years ago. And so again, I was looking at just to have somebody in there. And since none of us here are in construction, at least, excuse me, Clay, recently, you know, Randy could assist us in that. So that's where this came. Concerns?
I will tell you, driving over that newly paved surface, it's already cracking. Where we tried the different mats, there's already several big cracks already right there. So Randy, there's one thing for you. It's out of the gate.
Yeah,
Damn it,
and
Randy.
can you guys hear me okay?
We can.
Yeah, and that's one of my concerns. For a while, I felt like maybe we need to hold their contractors a little more accountable for what they're doing. I'm just an outsider looking in, so it'll take a little time and investigation. The engineer will have more knowledge, but it's always good to have somebody to bounce something off of.
No, Randy, again, we appreciate you being willing to step up and support the town. So thank you for
Sure, sure, do what I can.
Speaking of the engineer, do they know that have they brought that up? Do you think they've seen the cracking that's taking place in that part of the road yet? Okay.
Hey, where is that located?
It's, yeah, West Jeter, right before you get to Frenchtown. It's that brand new paved section where we think we tried 2 or 3 different mats.
Yep.
There's already some pretty deep, big cracking in several pieces of it.
Especially on the east side going north.
And just for my own knowledge, would it be possible, I guess I'm getting old. I don't remember how long ago it was we did Dove Creek, and that seems to also be cracking. Would I be able to does anybody have just a generic time when some of those were done? I'd just be curious.
Yes, I don't have that map with me, but I do have a map that was drafted by our previous town engineer, Gary Vickery. And
Okay,
it shows the street outlines along with the year that
Okay.
that they were reconstructed or had maintenance on them. So what
Sure.
I'd love to do is maybe in the coming week, I can set up a meeting with yourself, myself, and our town engineer as just a general introductory meeting and just provide you with a basic summary and maybe later on take a tour together.
that'd be great. Yeah, I would never want to step on toes as far as, what the engineer, he's an engineer for a reason, but sometimes just a second set of eyes doesn't hurt. I'd love to do that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Future agenda items, send it to us in between meetings. Time being 9:18, we are adjourned. Council, thank you very much.
Thank you. Go party now. Happy birthday. Emery, just 40? Is this your 40th?
Yeah, same one.
40th birthday?
Pressed into service a little bit.
Well,
Really?
it's kind of interesting, but the problem
90 something?
is, things that we looked at today and said, oh, it makes 100% sense to go
That's
this way.
impressive.
We find out that what you.
Very good.
Was actually compromised.
Is that,
And so having that institutional knowledge is key, is kind of just trying to just being able to take it.
I appreciate that.
For a week? You're kidding. That's right, that's right. That's
I'm
right.
flying. I'm heading to San Diego in the morning and Atlanta next week.
That's really-
Trust me,
No, you going to Austin?
no,
I did some talking. I did some communicating back and forth.
Well, I still think it does, but
legislative
it's just,
pass that
it's
affects
just really difficult.
Got it.
You, not
You know,
me, well, me,
because
because I'm a
My
resident
daughter's
of
supposed to
municipality as well, but as a
Next
secretary,
week.
how it affects
go on a
y'all.
trip.
Got it.
Are you around on the
Actually,
26th?
An outfit called Remote River, and she's single. She was on this, with this group for.
I will tell, will you see your calendar tomorrow?